everyone, welcome back. If you're new here, I'm Katie, and today we are going to be discussing all of the books that I read in January. So I have my reading journal here so we can talk about all of the stats and everything. I don't have like a lot of stats, I just share how many star ratings and how many books that I read, both in Christian fiction and mainstream fiction. So I only read 5 mainstream fiction, and then I read 13 Christian fiction. So a total of 18 books. So not bad. Plus I think I read like 5 comic books, like 4 Archie comics and 1 Garfield. So there you go. There's my extra fun reading for the month. Okay, so I had 1 1.5 star, 1 2 star. I had no 3 stars. I had 1 3.5 star. I had 9 4 stars, 1 4.5 star, 3 5 stars, and 2 6 stars. So yes, this year I am starting doing 6-star rating systems because there are just those books that are just, I don't know, just that much more better than 5 stars. So yes, I am starting 6-star ratings. I probably won't have that many throughout the year, but for those that are like the top of the top new favorites of all time, those books are getting 6 instead of 5 stars because I do enjoy a lot of books. So a lot of books get 5 stars, but I feel like I really need to have a 6-star rating system just because those books are just extra special. They have an impact on me, or I will remember them for a really long time, so they will get 6 stars. Okay, so let's start off with our mainstream fiction, and then we'll go into our Christian fiction. So I read 4 sci-fis this month. They were just the novellas, the 3 novellas for Brandon Sanderson's Skyward series. I think it was like 2.1, 2.2, and 2.3. They're kind of all in between book 1 or book 2 and book 3. And then I read book 4, which is the final book. But then there's like a hint at the end to where he might write another series in the same universe. So kind of interesting. I don't know if I will be reading it. I probably will, because as the series as a whole was pretty enjoyable, and there wasn't a lot of like, there was no romance hardly at all. There was a little bit, but like it wasn't anything bad, which was good. And there was very, very minimal language in it. So very, very nice series. I gave the first 2 novellas, which was Sunreach and Redawn, I gave 4 stars. And then the third novella, I gave 2 stars. 2 stars, I did not enjoy it as much as the first 2. So I have my phone because obviously I am not great at remembering what books are about this month because, it's just been a crazy first month. That's okay. It happens. So if you've read the original Skyward series, I highly recommend reading the novellas, even the one I gave 2 stars to, because they share some little tips and feedback from the books that we don't get to see in the original series. So in Sunreach, which was 2.1, so I think the first one in the novella trilogy was my favorite, because this is the one, I think, where we get to see kind of how they find out what the slugs are, how they're training them, and how they're working them in with their army. So it was just a really fun novella to kind of get more involved with the slugs, because honestly the slugs were probably one of my favorite things in the entire series. So we get to see that. So that's why I gave a higher score, because I just really enjoyed that. I loved learning more about what the slugs could do. There were different types of slugs. There were more dangerous ones compared to other ones. So it was really quite interesting, and I'm really glad that I read that one. So in Redawn, I believe, was about the alien girl. Yeah, Alanik. So Alanik is an alien girl that crash landed on their planet. And the girl in the mainstream books takes her place to infiltrate another planet, and so she ends up staying there. So this is kind of her novella, how she is taken care of with the army on the planet, and how she gets more involved, because we kind of jump to where like she crash landed, she's injured, and then we don't see her again until book 3 or 4, I think. And then like she's already integrated herself into the into the flight team, and it's like, what happened between then and then? Like, how'd she infiltrate herself into the team? So that novella is important for that reason, is you get more of how she joined the how she joined in the flight crew and everything. So really, really good. And then Evershore, which was the last novella, I gave 2 stars. And I just felt like there was too much going on. I listened to the audiobook for these, and book novella 3 just had too much going on. It had a lot of what I thought was just drivel, you know, like there's just too much extra narrative, and it was just too much going on. And honestly, I do not remember what it was about. I do know that in this one we're following Jorgen, which I actually do like Jorgen's character. I think in this one we're following his journey on how he became from just part of the flight crew to pretty much leading the entire planet. Again, in the mainstream books, we see Jorgen as a flight crew, and then all of a sudden he is head of the planet. And it's like, okay, what just happened between then and then? So I do get the importance of this novella as well. So definitely read the novellas. Okay, now we're going to go into the last book in the series, which is Defiant. And I gave this one 4 stars. I really enjoyed the last half. I thought the first half was a little bit, I don't know, I just felt a little bit more slower. There was a little bit more language in this one than the previous books. And there was also a part that I didn't like, where there was this weird part where Mbot, which is like my favorite character in the entire series, like supposedly came to life again, and he's like, he wanted to create his own religion. I was like, really? That did not need to be in there. And thankfully it was only like 1 sentence, and then like it was never talked about again. He decided not to do it. But I'm like, no, you don't need that. So yeah, that's one of the reasons why I didn't give it an entire 5-star. Also, again, it was just kind of slow in the beginning. I did like the way it wrapped up. What else? I also did really like the character growth of our main character, Spenza. I just felt like she really grew very well, and very just because she grew up kind of hardcore, rough and tumble. She grew up in the caves on the planet, but then she just comes to realize that she does really need that community. You know, she felt like she really didn't need it in the beginning, and I just felt like she had a really good growth. She learned how to become a leader. She learned how to when not to be a leader, when she had to be part of the team. So I felt like she had really good growth in her character, and it was probably one of the best growths I've ever seen in a character. So that was a good thing. And also, I forgot that I said in my review that we need to have a novella about Doomslug or Mbot. I'm just saying, we do need a novella with one of those characters. I just felt like they need their own novella. All right, and then the last mainstream fiction book that I read was That Fine Line by Cindy Steele. This was the pick from my TBR friend jar. So that was the one that came out this month. And I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. For the most part, it was clean. It read, I would say, a little bit more YA, because sometimes I felt like, I think they did do back in time. I was gonna say whatever it's called when you go back in time, but they do talk about high school days. So it was a little bit hard to follow between high school days and nowadays, because I think they're like in their late 20s, I think, but it almost read a little bit YA to me, compared to like more of an adult romance. But for the most part, it was a clean romance. There was no bedroom scenes or anything, which was nice. I am going to try the second book in the series. And yeah, so I did do like a whole vlog on this. I'll link it down below if you want to check it out. But it's about 2 people who they've been pretty much doing prank wars their entire life from like middle school and on. And it does get kind of mean in some pranks. Like, he really likes her, but she kind of takes those pranks as being like kind of mean-hearted, and yeah, some of them are kind of, but she gives it right back. But I do really love their characters. I did not like her fiance. She has a fiance in the beginning, and he is just a total jerk throughout the entire book, and I was like, no girl, no. Like, even though like you don't really like the guy who has played pranks on you this entire time, he has liked you like forever. And like, yeah, so they pretty much prank each other back and forth, so it's kind of even. It's not like one person pranking, like, some of the pranks were a lot more funny and less serious when they grew up and grew older. They were just kind of having fun throughout the summer. And yeah, so I did enjoy their pranks as they got older, and they had a lot of fun. So yeah, so it was pretty good. I enjoyed it. Yeah, so that's all I have to say. But yeah, so if you want to know more of my thoughts, just check out the vlog. All right, now we're going into Christian fiction. So I had one that was 1.5 stars. Ooh. I forgot I have physical copies of a few of these. So the first one I'm going to talk about is Serenade for Gladys by Durwood Smith. This is a Jack Sinclair mystery. I think it's book 1. It's the only book out, I think, so far. But I read it. I really love the cover. I thought it was beautiful. But I struggled through this one. The premise was great. It's about a girl in the, like, 1930s-ish, 1940s. She really reminded me of my grandmother, because my grandmother was a telephone operator back during that time, mid-1940s. And it's also set near where I was born. So I was really excited to read this book. I did really enjoy the premise. I liked the mystery. I liked kind of the, like there's this man who is kind of like a thief, pretty much. He kind of gets his girlfriend involved with stealing money from her friends and stuff. So there's that problem going on. There's also a mystery, a political mystery. I didn't really like the political mystery too much. I'm not huge into political mysteries. So yeah, I really wasn't a huge fan of that. And there was just a lot of things that were going on that this book felt like it took the Lord's name in vain, even though it's supposed to be Christian fiction. So wasn't super thrilled about that. And I think there was a few swear words in here, if I'm remembering correctly. And then the editing, ooh. I don't normally criticize editing because I know that, like, especially if it's indie published, but there was a lot of editing in here that needed to be done. There's a lot of missed, not quotation marks, speech marks where the character is talking. Wow, my brain has just left school. But yeah, but like there was missing those, so like you couldn't tell like when a character started talking or maybe ended talking. And then like the I forgot, yeah, where there would be like one character, and instead of having like a break point where like there's like, a little, like maybe a little mark, like a little, a flower or a circle or something to break up, between like, hey, we're following this character and now we're following this character. There was nothing like that. It was just like a new paragraph and bam, we're following another character. And I was like, what's going on? Like, it shouldn't break up like that. Or, and I was kind of struggling with that. Like there was some parts where there was like these little break things, but I think there was some parts where like there wasn't that. And I'm like, so I struggled who we were following and stuff. And yeah, just the editing wasn't super great in that way. And so yeah, but there was just, I couldn't connect with the characters. And Gladys, like, it was kind of weird, but like it's supposed to be a Jack Sinclair mystery, and I felt like we got more of Gladys than Jack. It was kind of weird, you know what I mean? And so like we got kind of half and half. I feel like if it's gonna be about Jack Sinclair, who is the main detective, we should get more of him. And I felt like we got a lot of Gladys, and that's just me. And I also didn't really like the romance. I was like, you can tell there's those types of romances where like some guys can write romance really well, and there's some that just can't write romance. And I felt like this is one of them where I just couldn't connect with the romance. I couldn't connect with the characters, and I feel bad because the premise was really good. That's why I give it like between 1.5 and 2 stars on Goodreads. But for the most part, I just did not enjoy it, and I struggled through it. But as far as the premise was good, but yeah, I just didn't have a good time with the characters or anything. So okay, so the next book that I read was called Southern Snow by B.R. Goodwin, and this one was kindly sent to me by the author. It was funny, she sent me a message on Instagram, and she was like, hey, my friend Tony Shiloh, I asked her if she knew anybody who would want to review my books, and she mentioned you. I'm like, yeah, like, I love Tony, she's great. So apparently Tony recommended me to B.R. Goodwin so I could listen to her audiobook. So this is called Southern Snow, and it is a upper YA Christian romance. I would say it is like the characters are more mid-20s, but like I can see younger teens reading this book because it's clean. It's just it felt like a YA romance. So I gave it 3.5 stars. Probably would have given it more if I read the physical book, because I listened to the audio, and this is where I struggled with it, because in the audio, we're seeing flashbacks of the past in high school, and in an audiobook, if you don't do it well, you really lose track. So I had problems with that, where like, I was like, wait, like, I thought she liked this guy, and now we don't like him, like, or so, like, stuff like that would happen all the time, where I was like, oh, we're back in high school days, going back. And there should have been something like maybe titles or something in the audiobook that said maybe like, just the date, like December 20th, 2010 or whatever, you know, probably like 2015, probably closer to that. But yeah, so I kind of lost track in the audiobook. But as far as the actual story went, it was really sweet. The faith content was really well done. And I just loved how faith-centered and kind the male love interest was. I just really liked his character a lot. So yeah, so he was really great. And I said in my review, I remember, I said, I would be okay if someone like him entered my life. So yeah, he was very kind, very sweet, very faith-filled. So definitely, like, I just feel like there's not enough male characters to follow that kind of, you know what I mean? Like, I just feel like the female characters are the more faith-filled versus the guys. I feel like we need more of those. I feel like we need more faith-filled guys in literature, and he was very nice. So in this one, we're following Georgia, and it's actually set in Georgia, which I thought was kind of funny. But she goes back to her parents' hometown to take care of the coffee shop because her dad suffered a heart attack, and then he is fine now, but she's trying to help out, take care of the coffee shop, and then she runs into a high school guy who used to be at her high school, and he comes back, and something happened in their past where, like, they really didn't get along. He's kind of had some issues with, like, drug issues and stuff. I won't spoil anything, but, you know, she doesn't want to get involved with a guy like that, you know. I mean, I think he is a pastor's son, but, like, he's kind of the bad boy type, but then you kind of get to know him better, and I really liked his character. So yeah, it was really good. Yeah, so it was mostly just like a contemporary, sweet Christmas time romance. Okay, and then the next book, which is actually a very, very short story, I think it was like 35 pages, by my lovely friend T. Williams. It was called Finally Christmas, and this is really cute. I gave it 4 stars. I'm excited to see her write. I know she's writing a full-length novel, I believe, right now. I'm just trying to find my thoughts on it so I can tell you about it. But yeah, so she is writing a full-length novel now. I don't know if it's going to be with the same characters. Let me know, T. But yeah, so she does have a YouTube channel. I will link it down below. She does take breaks and stuff, but she does post. So this was a Christmassy romance. It did have beautiful faith in it. And I loved it because our main character, she grew up in a religious cult, and so she ends up leaving that cult, and her family is like, you know, they're like totally against her. They say, we're pretty much disowning you, and she's like, I found what I really want. I found a relationship with Jesus. I found out, like, what it was to be in that religious cult and what it means now to be truly loved by somebody, to be truly loved by Jesus. And so she leaves, and so she has never celebrated Christmas before. And so her friends at church want to celebrate that with her. And she meets a man at the church, and she's not ready for a relationship quite yet, but he meets her, and he kind of wants to give her the Christmas of a lifetime too, because, you know, she's never had Christmas. And it was just very, very sweet, and I love the romance. And yeah, it was a little bit of a rushed romance because it was only 35 pages long, but it was a good introduction to the characters. And I also really loved how the characters put their faith in God first over their relationship and love and everything. So it was good. You should check it out. I think it's on Kindle Unlimited. And I also read a lot of Christmas and winter type books in January because I didn't get a chance to read much in December. So I read a book called Things Not Seen by Dorinda Babcock, and this cover definitely had me intrigued. So I love a good, like, survival story, and this was definitely a survival story. So we're following these 4 strangers who are on an airplane. It must have been a really small airplane because I think there was only like 15 passengers total or something. But they are the only survivors, these 4. The pilot, a kind of rough and tumble mountain man who's kind of a guide for people who want to go up in the mountains. Then we're following a young worship leader at church. And we're following a kind of a very pretty rich girl, but she, like, doesn't, not necessarily want that lifestyle, but she wants people to see more of her than just the beauty. Like, she gets treated really poorly and really badly by especially women who only see the beauty and think she's got no brains. And so we're following all 4 of them as the plane crashes and they have to struggle to survive. And so we're following all 4 of them. There is a little bit of a romance going on. The romance, of course, does go pretty quickly because, I mean, it is a survival story, and you kind of, like, have to be, I mean, you're stuck together, you know, pretty close by each other trying to survive. So yeah, of course the romance is going to go pretty quickly. But we're seeing kind of the day-to-day survival, how they have to find food, they have to find shelter, they have to keep moving because they're on the top of the mountain and they have to make their way down because it's very close to winter storms and they do not want to be stuck up on the mountain. So we're following them, and what I really loved the most about this is the worship leader. I felt like he was the glue to the group. Dorinda, she did an incredible job at having him be kind of the, just the glue of the group, where he would sing worship songs to kind of calm the situation. He would tell them about God, as the Lord provided. He said, this is God. This is totally God saving us and protecting us and keeping us safe. And so I really loved his character. I felt like he was the perfect combination. So really, really good. Yeah, so it's basically, it's a survival story. We see them hopefully get off the mountain and survive. And it was really good. The only reason I only gave it 3.5 stars was I did feel like the romance was pretty rushed. As I said, it's a short book. So I also think this is on Kindle Unlimited too, so you can check it out. But yes, it was definitely interesting. So it was good. Okay, the next one that I read, which I kind of stuck between 4 and 4.5. I don't know what to rate it, but it was Just the Nicest Person by Christy Barrett. This was our book club pick for January in my Christian book club, and I really enjoyed it. I really did. I honestly I went entirely left field with guessing who did it. My ending probably would have been, honestly, quite a bit better, although I realized after I finished reading that mine wasn't quite plausible enough. I made a mistake there with my ending, but I was like, honestly, my ending would have been like so much more cooler. But I just felt like, honestly, the ending, for some reason, when they revealed who did it, I could not remember him. I'm like, where did we meet him in the story? Like, that's the only problem I had with the story, was I couldn't remember where we met the person who did it, and so I struggled with that. So the ending kind of threw me for a loop, and not in a good loop, I guess. But the rest of the story, it had high intense action, it had cold weather situations and problems where, things got cold, and, I'm cold just thinking about it. I'm gonna take a hot shower after this. But yeah, so definitely some situations with freezing weather and with danger and a killer lurking around every corner, and we don't know who to trust. So very, very good. So this one's about a girl who she is a truck driver, but she has ulterior motives. She used to be a lawyer, and she got disbarred because some guy wanted revenge on her and pretty much falsified some papers, and now she's trying to go after him, proving that he's terrible. And so so that part of the story is actually going to continue in the series because that was not wrapped up in the first book. But then we're following her as she crashes her truck. So she is stuck at this little truck stop in the middle of Alaska, and so we find her and a bunch of strangers there who band together because a crime podcast, or true crime podcast, man has been murdered, and his podcast was never finished to reveal who the killer was in his podcast. So that's the whole mystery going on. It was intense. It was good. The writing was really good. I just, as I said, the ending kind of threw me for a bad loop, but I'm really excited to continue this series. So others might not agree. I mean, I'm sure other people enjoyed the ending, but I don't know. My ending would have been better. I rarely say that, but yeah, so I won't tell you my ending, but because you might guess the same thing. You never know. Okay. All right. So the next books that I read the 2 novella books in Becky Wade's Misty River romance series. I finally finished the entire series, novellas and all. So exciting to finish a series. So I read Take a Chance on Me and You and Me. And so I gave Take a Chance on Me 4 stars, and then You and Me 5 stars. And let's see, the first one. So this one, we're following a girl named Penelope, and she helps her brother's family through a medical crisis, and then she is kind of forced into a situation where she is teaming up with her brother's best friend, who's an Air Force fighter pilot named Eli, and so they're kind of butting heads because they both like each other, but Penelope has this adamant reasoning that she will never ever date an Air Force fighter pilot because her friends have all been brokenhearted. They're always crying over them leaving or the dangers of that field. And so she's like, I'm never getting involved. And so they have kind of been friends in the past. They were friends, but then something happens where he kisses her. And then that kind of breaks up everything. And she's like, I don't know what to do. And so they end up not seeing each other for I think like 6 months or something because he ends up being put overseas without telling her. And so he comes back and she's like, I want nothing to do with this guy. But then, of course, it's a romance. So things, go the way it goes. So I really wasn't a huge fan of the romance. It's probably why I didn't get 5 stars instead of 4. But overall, I did really enjoy the novella. And the other one that I read was You and Me, which I really wanted it to be a full-length novel. I really, really, really like this one. So this is one where I remember recommending this book to somebody in my Christian book group on Facebook that I'm a part of. Somebody asked, hey, is there any books where a shy main male character gets the girl? And I was like, this one. It's You and Me by Becky Wade. It's 2.5 in the series, and I really wished it was a full-length novel. I enjoyed and loved the characters so much. So in this one, we're following a art teacher named Connor, and he has been in love with this girl named Shay since like, I don't even know how long, since like middle school or something, but he's just so shy and so quiet, and they barely talk to each other until like late high school maybe, where they started becoming just a little bit of friends, more acquaintances than friends. But then something happens where she kind of dates on and off and everything, but then she ends up breaking it off with her longtime boyfriend. And Connor ends up coming back to town to take care of his mother, who has Lou Gehrig's disease. So it's very slow progressive for her, thankfully. But he comes back to take care of her, and so he finds out that she doesn't have a boyfriend anymore. So he kind of sets up this fake dating situation where he says, hey, I'm in love with this girl, and I don't want to tell you her name or anything because I kind of want to keep it secret until I ask her out. So Shay ends up saying, let's call her Molly. So he's like, okay. But he says, Molly, I want to ask her out, meaning her, but she doesn't know it. But he says, I'm kind of, I'm shy. I kind of want to bump up my image. And she's like, you don't need bumping up. So he's like, okay, maybe not that. Maybe just like kind of, shining the diamond, getting the rough edges, kind of not change his image, but just make it a more suitable image for himself, and his personality. So she helps him with that. She teaches him how to kind of ask a girl out on a date, what to do on a date, maybe a little bit of a new wardrobe, but not a drastic change, shave his beard. And so she's like, once or twice in the book, she's like, could I be Molly? And she's like, no, just no. But we all know throughout the book that he's going to ask her out. And so it's very, very sweet. As I said, I would have loved it if it was a full-length novel. I really love the characters, especially Connor. So yeah, it should have been a full-length novel. Okay, and then I finished another series. Who am I? Who is this girl? Wait, I also finished the Skyward series. So I finished 3 series this month. Who is this girl? I don't know. But anyway, so I finished The Lewis Family by Toni Shiloh. And yay, so I gave book 2 5 stars and book 3 4 stars. So, and I did ask her. She said she might have plans for more of the series, but I'm really hoping because I really want Eve's story and Noel's story. I really want those 2 characters' stories. Like, I've been waiting for them, so it's like, she really needs those stories. So these are following the siblings of, if you don't know, there are sequels to her book, You Make It Feel Like Christmas, with Star. So these are about her siblings. They are not, what's it called? When you're published traditionally. They're not traditionally published. They're indie published. So they are on Kindle Unlimited. So in book 2, we are following, who are we following? We're following her sister. Can I remember her name? Angel. We're following Angel in book 2, which is called All I Want. And in book 3, we're following Gabriel, which I honestly was not expecting his story to be the 3rd one up. But we're following Gabriel in Most Wonderful Time. So, okay. Let's go back to book 1. All I Want. So I gave that one 5 stars. really, really enjoyed it. So in this, we're following Angel, and if you know, some things happen where, you know, in the first book, she was dating her sister's ex-boyfriend, and they got engaged, and things happened, and, you know, so we're following Angel, how I just loved her character growth in this book. She puts her faith first, and her friends and family first, because she always put herself first in the first book. So we're following her in the second book, how she just kind of says, you know, I can't really be selfish anymore. I really need to, you know, to pray more and read my Bible more, concentrate on the Lord, and put others first. And so she really just does like a huge 180, but in a good way. You know, it didn't happen right away. You know, it happened, you know, she keeps growing and growing. Well, there's this guy who comes to her interior design business, and her boss wanted him. He's her boss's friend, and so he says, hey, you know, something's wrong with my company. I keep losing money. Something's wrong. I really need to fix some things. You know, if I have to fire somebody, you know, it might happen. So he says, I need a consultant, which his friend is, to kind of figure out what's going on with the company. So he does. And Angel's like, oh no, like, I hope I'm not fired, you know? So Angel ends up getting hired by her boss to fix up his place. And he's a single dad, and he's kind of into Angel, like, right away, but he's like, he looks at her and he sees kind of the old Angel. Like, she looks like what his ex-girlfriend was, you know, the kind of love him and leave him type. And so he's like, I don't want to get involved with anybody. And he's like, I don't want Angel fixing up my house. Like, no. But his boss is adamant about helping him with his house. He's seen how his furniture situation is since he's had it since college. And he's like, no, Angel's going to do it. She's my best interior designer, and this is my gift to you for helping me with my business. So he's like, fine. So so they get involved with that, and they kind of just get to know each other as they shop for furniture and shop for Christmas items. And it was super sweet. I loved the romance. I loved the little girl. Her name's Marvel. She's just so cute and so sweet. She was probably my favorite character in the book, and I just love the way she kind of attaches herself to Angel and never lets go. It's just so sweet. And yeah, so check it out. If you like the first book, definitely check out that one. Okay, and then book 3 is Most Wonderful Time, and this one's about Gabriel. And Gabriel is one of the brothers. He works for his father's bank, but he doesn't really want that. He still doesn't know what he wants, but he works at the bank, and he ends up meeting this girl who starts working there. She gets a job there, and man, I felt so connected to her character. Ooh, like so much. And we're following this girl. She got a job at the bank, and yeah, her character and I definitely had some similarities going in the past. So she gets a job there because she is an army vet. She was in the military, but she ends up unfortunately having an accident, a skiing accident, and so she pretty much will have back pain for the rest of her life. And I felt just so horrible, and I was like, oh, that poor girl, because she's been through physical therapy. She's been like, you know, she's been a year in physical therapy, and she's just struggling so badly. And Air Force, not Army, sorry. But Shanae, she struggles with that, and I really felt her pain, because I don't know if I've ever told you this story before, but in my early 20s, about 10 years ago, I had back surgery. I used to have back spasms, maybe like once or twice a year, and then I had a really bad back spasm where I couldn't move at all. I was in so much pain, and so they rushed me to the hospital, and they said I needed surgery because I would become paralyzed if I didn't. And I did, and I am so much better. I very rarely have back pain now. I'm not in the situation that Shanae is in the book, where she will most likely have pain the rest of her life, which is very sad. You know, I mean, unless the Lord finds her an incredible miracle or an incredible doctor, Lord help me find an incredible doctor who really, God really did save my life, and I'm able to walk, and I'm getting back into exercising, getting back into, you know, strengthening my back more and more. So definitely been a huge help. And yeah, so I know her pain. I know the spasms. I know the struggle, and yeah, it's rough. But yeah, so I definitely connected with her, and I was just like, this book is just tearing my heart up, because I know what she's going through, girl. I know it. I've been through it. But yeah, so we're kind of seeing her kind of being mistrusting of guys in general. I think something happened in her past where I don't know if she reveals exactly what that is, but she's been kind of brokenhearted with guys in the past, and she's like, I am not falling for this guy with with teeth as white as snow, pretty much. And she's like, I am not, dealing with this cute guy at the office. I don't want an office romance, but just the way he's so sweet with her and so gentle, but also like, he's hardcore on her because she's like, I don't want people treating me like I'm an invalid, even though she kind of is. I mean, you can't go through it, nobody understands unless you've gone through it. I've gone through it, and it's rough. But yeah, it's like she doesn't want people to think of her as an invalid, but he doesn't treat her as an invalid. He treats her like, like a man in love. Like, he wants to take care of her. Like, he wants to know her limitations. Like, he doesn't want to say, hey, stop it, you're gonna hurt yourself. No, he's more of the like, let me know when you're hurting and I'll take care of you. And so, like, yeah, he is perfect, and he's perfect for her. So yeah, I really liked both of them together. So yeah, I gave that one 4 stars. All right, let's see. Now we're getting to like my top creme de la creme books. So the first one was really good. I gave it 4.5 stars. And that was, whoops, got a bookmark with me. And that is Carol of the Rooms by Diana Lee Matthews. And this one really surprised me. So this is a retelling of A Christmas Carol. And as I said, it really surprised me. This is a Christian spun version. I don't know if A Christmas Carol is really Christian or not. I don't remember. I don't know if I've even ever read it. I've seen lots of movie versions. But yeah, so this one we're following Terry. And she has hardened her heart over everyone around her, she's just hardened her heart into stone. She wants nothing to do with anything. She's pretty much lost almost everyone in her life. She's been brokenhearted by a man in the past, and she's like, I want nothing to do with anyone. I just want to work. She met somebody, a friend, who pretty much said, money is the way to go. Like, you got to make lots of money to be happy. And so we all know that's not a good way to go. But she ends up following that path and being extremely hard-hearted. And the only one who can even get close to her is her grandfather. And even then, he's a Christian. I believe he used to be a pastor. But she won't even spend like 10 minutes with him. She'll drive an hour to get to his house and only spends 10 minutes. Like, she loves him. But as soon as he starts bringing up Jesus and God, she's like, I'm done. I'm leaving. And so she leaves. And she is pretty much staying away from her aunts and their family. She wants nothing to do with them. You kind of see how that came across and stuff. And, she even goes as far as to say, if they're coming over for Christmas, I'm not coming over till they leave. Like, that's how bad it is. And so she ends up in a car accident, and she ends up being visited by 3 ghosts. But Gabriel the angel is actually involved in this, and he's showing her, and as well as the different versions of herself, those are the ghosts, how this came to be. How did she get so hard-hearted, and seeing her past, present, and future. And so I really enjoyed this. I really liked it. I really loved it. I could see myself rereading this. The ending got me. I love the ending so much. The ending was absolutely perfect. Just her growth and just what happened in the ending. I'm not going to spoil anything, but if you liked A Christmas Carol, definitely check out Carol of the Rooms. It was really good, really, really enjoyable, definitely. I think I did cry in a moment here, but yes, it was very, very good, and yeah, so definitely check it out. It was a great retelling. Okay, and then I finally read a hyped up book that's been hyped up on YouTube for like forever, and that is the Mistleto Countess by Paperbacks. Yes, finally read it. Sorry this video is taking so long, but I finally read it, and I really enjoyed it. I gave it 5 stars, and it was just a really enjoyable read. Not super Christmas season, but yes, I really enjoyed it. I would say that it wasn't like my favorite of her books. I know, but I still really enjoy it. I mean, I gave it 5 stars, so I have to look back at my notes because it's been ages since I've read it. I read it in the beginning of the month, so yes, I didn't have time to finish the entire series. I wish I did. Seriously, the only thing that I wrote on my review was a pure delight, and boy, can Pepper Basham write kissing scenes. Yes, she can. Ooh. They're not overboard, but boy, they sure are good kissing scenes. So yeah, so in this one we're following a girl who her sister is supposed to marry this man, kind of to like, how, it was an arranged marriage. Well, come to find out something that, well, most of you have read it already, but come to find out that her sister's pregnant with some other man's child. And her sister's like, what are you doing? Why are you marrying somebody you don't love? Who you already have somebody else's kid? Like, yeah, I know you want to get married fast just to pretend that it's his, but that's living a lie. No, sister, no. So she tells her, if you want to run away and marry the guy you really love, whose baby you have now, I will cover for you somehow, some way. And so her sister says, okay, and so she runs off. And so, yeah. Kind of a rotten sister, isn't it, too? I mean, like, she could have stayed and, like, admitted it and said, like, hey, apologies all around. I'm sorry. I want to marry the man I really love. But no, she just runs away. But anyways, so her sister ends up saying, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? And Gracelyn, who is the main character, she's like, what can I do? And she's like, you know what? The marriage contract, doesn't specify which sister he has to marry. Because they're marrying for, I think her dad's got like some debts and stuff, or he does, the bridegroom. And so, like, he has to give the money anyways, even if the bride, like, decides not to marry him. So she's like, how can I do this? And he's like, well, it doesn't say what sister. Like, it doesn't specify the name of the sister that has to marry him. It's just, like, it just says something like, whatever her last name is, Ferguson. Just says the Ferguson daughter or something. So she's like, I'm going to take the place. So she ends up doing that. And so, it was just very sweet. I really loved their characters and how they weren't in love like right away. It was kind of a growing attraction to each other and just felt so sweet. And there's this one part where the original sister who's supposed to marry him was going to meet her bridegroom in the library or the study or something. And something happens where he goes in there to give his fiancée a kiss because they're allowed to. They're engaged. But he ends up kissing the wrong sister. And ends up being, the girl that he ends up marrying, actually. But just that scene, I was just like, whoa, like how's that going to work out, So it was really good. So, yeah, that kissing scene, that was a good one. But yeah, so, yeah, it was good. I really enjoyed it, and I can't wait to continue the series. I don't know if there's going to be more than 2. I know there's 3 total, but I don't know if there's going to be any more after that. I don't think so, but I really do need to continue the series before I forget any details, so. And there's also a mystery around his house too. There's some like possible ghosts. Of course, it's a Christian book. There's no real ghosts, but yeah. So mysterious things happening around in his manor in England. So it was just really good, and I really enjoyed it. Okay, so the next one was Better Watch Out by Natalie Walters. This was actually our December book club pick for the Christian book club, but I didn't get to it until the first week, which is fine. I'm usually late to the game anyways. Usually. I wasn't this month, thankfully. But yeah, so I read it, and I loved it. 6 stars. Both this book and the book I'm going to talk about after. Both of these were 6 stars. I loved it. Actually, I have a copy. Where is my copy? I found it. So I have a copy now. Yay. So excited. And yes, I loved this book so much. The perfect Christmas book. I have a review on this, so I'll link it down below. But yes, this book was just perfection for a Christmas book. Perfect blend of romance and high suspense action. It was just a perfect blend. It wasn't too much of either. The romance in here was absolutely beautiful. We're following a girl in here named, what was her name? I can't remember. Franny. We're following Franny and Andrew. And Andrew used to be an NHL defenseman, and he is turned into a protection agent. And so he ends up finding Franny through her brother. Her brother says, hey, terrible happened where she went to New York City to meet her boyfriend to kind of surprise him. And lo and behold, he's marrying somebody else in England. So she's now brokenhearted. And so he's like, can you, my friend Andrew, take her to my home in, I think, Washington, D.C. or something. And he's like, okay, I will take her to the airport. Well, she almost pepper sprays him because she has no idea who he is. This is a strange man arriving at her apartment. She's like, I have no idea what's going on. So yeah, she almost pepper sprays him, and so they end up around the city, and she's like, I don't want to leave. I want to stay because I have a list that I was planning on with my ex-boyfriend, and I want to stay and at least do some of the things on the list. So he's like, fine, I'll take you around. But then some mistaken identity happens where she ends up being supposedly misidentified as his company is supposed to take care of another girl, and so she gets mistaken for her, and danger lurks around every corner. It was just so good. The setting of New York City, you can tell the author has been there around Christmas time. Just the way she described it was absolutely perfect, and I loved it. So yeah, definitely check it out. Okay, and then the last book that I read this month, well, not the last book I read, but just the last book I had to talk about because it was 6 stars. I loved it. It was just, oh, it was so good. I did a whole review on it because I was like, you all need to know about this one. And that is Offsides by Laurie Z. Scott. Just, it is a new favorite of all time. I loved it so much. It is 6 stars, above 5 stars. Loved it. I never knew I would love a book about soccer so much. I am not a sports fan. Sorry for all you sports fans out there, but I do enjoy reading about them. Like, I like sports romances, but this one just, this was so good. There's a little bit of romance, nothing spicy or whatever, because it is a Christian book and it's a YA book. But things happen. There's some twists and turns I did not see coming, and just, it was so good. It had me crying, it had me laughing, it had me happy, it had me sad. It had all the feelings, and that's another reason why I gave it 6 stars. So in this one, we're following a girl named Danny, and she is in her senior year of high school, and she's a soccer player. That's pretty much her like main focus in high school is soccer, and that's all she really cares about. But she decides to kind of get out of her comfort zone because her friend is so like super hyper and super outgoing, and Danny is like, she is not. She is super shy, super quiet, and introvert, and so her friend is pretty much her only friend. And so they decide to, try some new things together, and things happen where she goes to this morning class. It happens before school, where one of the teachers teaches like a little Sunday school before classes. And so one day her teacher says, there's some things going around. There was a story going around like last year or something, how there was a girl who was kidnapped and put into trafficking, and she was found, but not until later. And so she teaches them about the dangers, about the trigger warnings, about what to look out for in those situations. So this is a great book for learning as well. It does not get graphic at all, I promise you, but it does really share this what happens and stuff. And so Danny thinks that a girl in her neighborhood might be in danger of something like that happening, and so she's trying to figure out what's going on. Should she tell somebody? She has no idea. She's a little scared. But it was so good. It was so extremely well written. Like, so good. And the faith in this story was beautiful. Like, how the community got together praying. And I loved it so much. It was so good. And honestly, I would love a sequel to this. I don't know if there's going to be one or not, but I really loved it. And yeah, I can't recommend it enough. It was that good. Okay, so those are the books that I have physically, and yeah, I had a really, really good reading month in January. I was really surprised I got that much reading done. But yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Let me know what your favorite or least favorite book of January was. I'd love to know. And if you read any of these, let me know, or if any of them interest you. All right, so I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will see you all in the next video.